Hi everyone, you are listening to Yeri of Astrology Healing Arts with a little forecast, not only for the month of January 2026, but a glimpse into the entire year by highlighting some of the major aspects and what these might mean for the collective. First of all, the intensity levels are not likely to decrease, but perhaps remain at the same level as they were in the year 2025, maybe not quite as painful and cataclysmic, because this year, 2025, has been one of the most challenging in the past 5-6 years, although 2020 sure did, throw everyone for a loop, but it's this buildup of a lot of different transits and configurations that now have brought us to this situation in which we are truly faced with something that we have never experienced in our lifetime as a whole. I'd like to actually combine some numerology and a little bit of Chinese astrology. I like to interweave the different branches and styles and techniques together to get a more full picture of what we are dealing with. So in numerology, 2025 has been a number 9 year, which is about closure, completion, endings. It's known to be a very karmic number. A number of loss of, definitely having to let go of a lot of things, relationships, and ideas that are no longer functioning, or simply it's time to move on. And so it's been a very trying sort of year for, I would say, the collective. A lot of people that I know, including myself, have experienced a lot of significant endings. But that's not necessarily negative. It's just that, if we were to, I've always kind of looked at this number as being very Piscean, because it's about the universal consciousness, and it's the final number before we start the cycle with 1. So Pisces is the final sign before we start this new cycle, and we are in a very Piscean cycle that's coming to a close right now. That 9, you could say it has a Neptunian sort of vibration to it, and a lot of people have been very confused, and we've had this conjunction building up between Saturn and Neptune together in Pisces at the end. They did very briefly, dip into Aries earlier this year, but we are going to have the exact conjunction between these two planets in February of 2026. So again, this year has been very difficult for a lot of people because it's been about sacrifice, loss, endings. This is not really something that a lot of people find easy to deal with. So now we've cleared the way, we will have cleared the way just a couple of days here for a brand new cycle. And yes, I'm very well aware of the changing of, the calendar year and how they've messed with our whole entire system of months and all of that. But for these purposes right now, this is the system that we're working with. And it's, I find that this is what represents the types of cycles and influences that, people tend to be dealing with. So moving into a number 1 year, this is a completely different trajectory, and it's literally the first number. So it's about beginnings. It's about leadership. It has a very solar quality. So the sun is, thought of as our central star. I as a flat earther, I don't look at the sun the same way that heliocentric people do, but let's just say it is a significant luminary. It is significant to us, to life on Earth, because without the sun, nothing can grow here. So think of that with the number 1. It's a nourishing vitalizing influence, and it does have its negative qualities as well. So let's just go over some of the main key points. Leadership, being at the top of something as well. Like you could think of the top point of a pyramid. And if you think about our government, they're always scheming, and they will continue to scheme, and there will continue to be, some things going on that we feel are infringing on our rights, our basic human rights that we are becoming more aware of. A lot of people are still confused or kind of, shaking out of their slumber with all of that. But, we're seeing also the themes of centralization, especially when it comes to currency, digital currency. They've already gotten rid of the US penny. They did that in a really sneaky way, because I read a few months ago they were planning to do that in April of 2026. They went ahead and did that literally like a month ago. So slowly, it's this movement and attempt to control every aspect of our lives. Do I think that will succeed 100%? No, but this is what we're up against, and this is what's becoming more obvious in the months and years to follow what is going to be happening in 2026. So one more thing I'd like to say about this number 9 year is that it has also coincided with the year of the snake in Chinese astrology. And the snake is about shedding and releasing as well. And in order to experience a sort of rebirth or transformation. And the snake is also known to be a very psychic animal and symbol, so awakening our psychic abilities and experiences. And this has been an ongoing theme, but it has been difficult for a lot of people because it's not only psychic as in like paranormal phenomena, but also psychic as in psychiatric and problems within the psyche, such as depression or just like heavy feelings and burdensome thoughts and patterns and instability. And so we've seen a lot of that manifest itself in this past year. So as the year of the snake comes to a close, some of these manifestations intensify for people or become more severe. And it's really important now to do that final purge, or at least acknowledge what needs to go and begin that process if it hasn't already begun. If someone is clinging tightly to a situation that is obviously on its way out, the person will be dragged along. They're not going to make it through the change that's inevitable. On February 17th, we enter the year of the fire horse, which is a dynamic symbol of movement, progress, enthusiasm, passion. It's going to fall on the annular solar eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius. And so the whole month of February is going to be just as wild, if not more so, than the month of January, which I haven't gotten into yet, but I will very shortly here. But just to say that it's an amazing month because February is when the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune become exact. In their exact coming together, we will experience a significant sort of popping or release effect. The conjunction has been in effect for the past year already, but it's going to shift in how it manifests itself, and it's going to, the after effects will carry on throughout 2026. But really, Saturn has been involved in a very interesting pattern that is new to us that involves all of the planets farthest from the sun, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, in what's called a minor grand trine or a mystic triangle. Saturn has been involved in the middle along with Neptune for the past year, and when Saturn exits, we will feel this less from Saturn by, the end of May in 2026. But it's been an important part of kind of like the liftoff effect of what these planets in this configuration, what they are signaling and what they seem to be bringing into our lives. And I would say some keywords are, advancement, progress. And these are, I say this kind of with neutrality, right? But obviously there are positive and negative manifestations. Definitely would be linked to AI and, all of the things that seem to be just moving forward and changing so rapidly. So this is a hugely dynamic influence that it's not only going to be present throughout this coming year, but into the year of 2029, getting close to 2030, which is, linked with that Agenda 2030. So we've got our eyes on all of the agendas. I think more people do have their eyes on what's going on. More people are aware, even if they don't understand. They might still be misled about who's who and what's what. And I think there is going to be another great unveiling in the months to come, that there will be, just as there has been a lot of cover-ups and these sort of half-assed disclosure bits like what we just saw with the Epstein files, but there will be a lot more that comes to the surface that gets uncovered, and it might not all come out in 2026, but I think there's going to be a lot more. And a lot of people are also talking about, extraterrestrials and aliens and UFOs and all of that stuff. And, I do think there are beings beyond or within this earth. At least, I think there are all different types of beings. I always have. I've always been very open-minded about that, and also aware of other spiritual beings, or what some people call interdimensional beings. So to me, it would be like, yeah, see? But I do think it comes with a lot of intrigue and controlled opposition and people making shit up. So we really have to be discerning with that sort of information, because, since the powers that be know that a lot of us know now that they're hiding everything from us, they are going to play games. And so, part of my work in what I do, my focus on psychic self-defense and psychic healing, development, and awareness is just, having our pulse on those things. First of all, monitoring our intake and not becoming fascinated. It's easy to be drawn into what's going on, social media, doom scrolling, and to think we've got all the answers now, we've got it all figured out. It's like, no, that's breadcrumbs. There's so much we don't know. There's so much I still don't know, but at least I know that I don't know. So I'm willing to, be informed or discover or come into some new knowledge. But it's gonna be quite the wild ride as far as, the types of things that come out and how people handle that. It's gonna be, it's probably gonna be chaotic in its own way. But I would say that because we're gonna be in a 1 year and a horse year, to me, the flow of energy looks a lot more, progressive and lighter. it was very heavy, extremely heavy in 2025. And I see difficulties in 2026, but I don't see that same level of weight, where it was just excruciatingly painful and difficult. Now I'm going to talk specifically about the month of January. If we're using the tropical Western zodiac, we have a huge focus in the sign of Capricorn this January of 2026. And the lineup is remarkable, whatever system you're using, because the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all coming together in an opposition with Jupiter. Now, I want to start off with the full moon that we'll be having on the 3rd. That would be in the cardinal sign of Cancer, which is opposite of Capricorn. And so that influence is going to be really about taking stock of what and who do we devote our time, energy, and resources toward. And does this bring us inner fulfillment, or do we need to make adjustments in our schedules, our relationships, our approach to things, and how we communicate with each other, our needs, other people's needs? Are we sacrificing ourselves, or are we too much focused on ourselves? And in a health sense, the questions might come up as to, are we receiving adequate nourishment? Or are our systems overloaded with toxins or overstimulation? Do we need a health reset? And, a lot of people might be feeling very distracted, very busy. It's often like this in the beginning of the year when people start out with a lot of enthusiasm, like, yeah, making my goals, but we are still, in the north, we're still in the winter, the dark of the year. This is not really the time for going full speed ahead. We're still just, we need to take our time and process and we need to recuperate and figure out what we're going to do when the time is right. So it's about planning and strategizing. As far as body parts, I'm kind of thinking that because Capricorn rules the bones, the teeth, connective tissues, skin, so things coming up pertaining to these areas, they might need extra attention. Maybe dental issues are coming up for some people. But in any case, there is a lot of focus on our inner circle, inner life, home life versus what we are doing out there in the world. And is one thing lopsided? How do we find our balance? In that first week of January, we have Mercury in a square with Neptune, so communications might become a little jumbled, thinking might be a little foggy, so just double check any important documents that you're signing, and also don't believe everything you hear. In the second week of January, our incredible lineup comes into focus with the superior conjunction of Venus. That is exact on January 6th, followed by the very next day of the exact conjunction between Venus and Mars. And then on January 9th, when all of these lights combine in this spectacular alignment, the Sun in exact conjunction with Mars, Venus in exact opposition with Jupiter, Sun in exact opposition with Jupiter, Mars in exact opposition with Jupiter, and Mercury is not exact. It'll be a few days later on the 14th that it also comes into opposition with Jupiter. So there's this cluster of planets, and Venus and Mars coming together is significant because, well, first of all, these two energies are completely opposite. Venus is the feminine, Mars is the masculine, and they are coming together not only with each other but with the Sun. I mean, the whole lineup is so incredible because Symbolically, it represents something that's coming to light in our own consciousness. But it should be noted that planets coming so close to the sun like that are said to be combust. They burn up, and so there's implicated in this coming together with the sun a sort of challenge too, and almost like temporarily being blinded by these influences. Afterward, we have more clarity. There's a sense of renewal, but during, it might seem in some ways a bit disorienting. It's a lot. And then add Jupiter into the mix, it's really extra. So what does it mean when the feminine and masculine principles come together like this, especially in the heart of the sun? Well, there could be a lot of different ways for these different influences to be expressed and reveal themselves. So one is that there could be more emphasis on interpersonal relationships. And so for some people, this would be a very positive time for, entering a new relationship. But for other people, if there's already a lot of conflict or discord or uncertainty, then this alignment is going to really give that extra push or show you everything you need to see to make an informed decision going forward. And that might be very painful. In another way, these two influences of Venus and Mars coming together bring about tremendous passion and creativity. So if you are an artist or a musician, or you simply want to become more inspired in some way, this alignment could really give you that extra boost, because it's definitely going to be very powerful because of that influence of the sun and also the opposition to Jupiter, which really, I think, in the week following and the couple weeks following, the exact aspect will show more of the results or the fruits. Where is this going? And especially, I would say even more so going into the following month of February. So the aspects have already happened, but because of the the placements of Mars and Venus, we're going to see, I see what's now developing, what's coming to fruition with all of these things that I've been putting my heart, soul, and energy into. And now specifically, Venus will be entering her evening star phase, and Mars will be entering morning star phase. So while there may be a lot more focus and introspection on interpersonal close relationships, the transition of Mars represents a new cycle of passion, purpose, and energy going forward into this Chinese New Year of the horse. And, Mars relates to our instinct and our drive. And in Capricorn, it's strong leadership, authority, and it really relates to our life path and career. So if that's a question and something that one is working on, this should really start to take root or become more solidified in February into March, April, and May. The month continues with a note of intensity, I have to say. The new moon on the 18th is 28 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury is in a sextile with Capricorn's ruler Saturn, trine Uranus. So we have the sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, all, bringing up these heated conversations. And it's definitely going to be interesting the next days to follow, because Mercury is in an exact conjunction with Mars during this new moon. So if it's not heated conversations, it's a lot of deep thoughts and perhaps uncovering of previously hidden information. So it's a lot to process, and it continues along this fashion with a lot of Plutonian things taking place. Such as on the 19th, we have Venus in exact conjunction with Pluto. Not to mention the Sun in a sextile with Neptune and entering Aquarius. Saturn sextiles Uranus, Mars trines Uranus, Mars sextiles Saturn, Mercury in a sextile with Neptune, and entering Aquarius on the 20th. Mercury is conjunct the Sun on the 21st. Okay, so back to the whole Plutonian feel. On the 22nd, Mercury is conjunct Pluto. Also, Mars is sextile Neptune on that day. It's a lot. It's going to be very intense. And then on the 23rd, Mars enters Aquarius. The Sun is in conjunction with Pluto. Now, we have to talk a little bit about this Neptune transit from Pisces into Aries on the 26th. Because we will never again in our lifetime experience Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So there's a lot of closure happening, a lot of endings with this, transition. And this happens the day before Mars is in a conjunction with Pluto. So yeah, it's a really intense month. But I do think that it's going to be one that we've already had a picture, a little taste of what this is going to be this previous year in 2025. So when this occurs, it might at first be subtle, like, it's not all bells and whistles and loud, but it's definitely going to be a shift that becomes increasingly noticeable in the weeks to follow. It is possible with Neptune's ingress that we will see a rise of natural and orchestrated so-called natural disasters, including fires, floods, earthquakes, you name it. This could be a catastrophic time in certain parts of the world. And these things could continue throughout February, which is an eclipse month. And Saturn enters Aries on February 13th before that solar eclipse. So it's definitely going to be one of those years where we can expect a lot of unexpected things. And because there's going to be this huge emphasis in the masculine signs, because we're going to have Saturn and Neptune in Aries, Pluto's in Aquarius, and then Uranus is going to enter Gemini, there's going to be a whole different sort of feeling going forward that's very different from when we had, Uranus in Taurus, and we had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and a couple of years ago when we had Pluto in Capricorn. All of those were feminine signs. So in the masculine signs, there's a lot more drive, oomph, a lot more energy, enthusiasm, power. Just think about all the things that have been stagnant, moving slow, all of the things that we've been receptive to. It's like the yin versus the yang. So now it's time to go out there and to overcome, to do. Now, of course, that can be taken to excess, and it's definitely going to be a struggle for a lot of people, but this could be just the switch that we need if we've been too, complacent or stuck. So the stuck will become unstuck. And yes, with Uranus entering Gemini, that's just the final kicker in this year that's full of dynamic changes. I should also mention that Jupiter will be entering Leo. That's another masculine sign on June 29th. And the summer is really an interesting time to look at. First, I want to go back and say Uranus's ingress into Gemini occurs on April 25th. We also had a brief glimpse of what this would look like for us in the months of August through October of 2025. So it really picked up the pace of things. So it's going to be about new discoveries, communications, travel, all of those kinds of things. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I could go so much deeper into all the details of these combined influences, but I think for now, I'm going to wrap this up by saying that 2026 looks to be like a dynamic year, full of change, full of challenge, but also full of growth. And for those who are ready to put in the work and who have been doing the work, will find that it's going to start paying off. And we have to be ready for the possibility that this is going to look like chaos if for a lot of people, in society. But then again, when has it not been to some degree, right? So with that in mind, let us put our best foot forward with great dedication and intention to make the best of this, because there are many opportunities. I'd also like to say that for those who have planets in the late degrees of any of the mutable signs, which include Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, there's going to be a huge release, a sigh of relief that you are transitioning out of this. All of the millennials who have Saturn in Pisces, they've been waiting for this to end. My deep sympathies to you. Also, there's going to be, for those who have planets in the early degrees of all the fixed signs, which include Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, a lot more focus on, what it is that you need to be doing in your life. Now, this is especially relevant for those of you with early degrees Aries, because the spotlight is really on you in some ways, that you might feel like you're more under pressure to perform in some way or to fix a problem that's been building up. And now you have nowhere else to hide. You have to face this issue because it's not going to go away until you do. And I would say, anywhere between 0 and 5 degrees. I'm using a little bit of a wide orb right now because I do think a lot of people start to notice these things in advance before they become exact. But you early fixed sign people, or if you have planets or important placements there, such as, your ascendant, pay close attention to what life is telling you. Because if you go against the grain, if you go against, your intuition now, you may deeply regret that. So there are some huge opportunities for all of us, no matter what our placements are, moving through obstacles and shedding a lot of baggage. And so now I want to do my little plug-in. I have a course coming up, particularly for survivors of narcissistic abuse. And my course starts right there in the midst of eclipse season in February, on February 10th, before the Chinese New Year. So we have time to kind of do our final shedding. And that's what this is all about: deconditioning, shedding, healing from the traumas of the past, whether those traumas are originating from our childhood or later adult relationships. I am also offering a free ebook on the subject of narcissistic recovery using astrology as a tool that you can download on my website. So check it out. I will have the link here below. And if you're interested, feel free to reach out. I am happy to assist you. And I will have some free resources for those who are interested, but either they can't find the time or the money to do it right now. So that's going to be my focus in the following months. Thank you all for listening, and I wish you a very happy, healthy, and successful January of 2026.